Coming up on this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society, we discuss the difference between 2D Mario and 3D Mario. One of them is in 3D. It's dangerous to go alone, so the Nintendo Cartridge Society goes with you. Welcome to Nintendo Cartridge Society. My name is Patrick Ellers, and I am joined, as I am always joined, by my co-host, Mark Mitchell. We've got a good show for you today. We're going to be talking about the news from the week, including the success of Metroid Dread and what Nintendo has been doing about Joy-Con drift. And then on Thursday, we are renewing our Cartridge Society certification by ranking all of the Nintendo carts and discs. But Mark, in the meantime, how's it going?
It's going so good. So happy to be here, Patrick. You know, a couple of weeks ago, we were talking about how we messed with like the by not allowing any sort of tracking and constantly, telling Instagram that we don't like that ad.
Oh yes,
we've kind of like messed up the algorithm, and so we get like the craziest ads. The algorithm has bit back a little bit.
Oh no!
All I get now, right? I used to be getting like used appliances and like Wabash. Now it's just purely dudes in suits.
Yeah.
Staring out, like standing by the ocean or on a roof top bar somewhere.
Yeah.
Staring off into the middle distance. And it's just like quotes. Like
those are the ads you're getting?
Those are the ads with like quotes that are like the hustle is real. Doing it for dirt and stuff like that. And then you like look at, then you look at like what they're advertising. It's like they have like 292 followers, and it's like life coach.
Oh boy!
And little like graphs going up with like links to whatever Amazon drop shipping thing that they're doing.
Well,
so I don't know.
Mine's still all underwear. Mark, speaking of underwear, my copy of Sonic Forces, would you like to borrow it? It comes with no underwear. Don't get it. Don't get confused. There's no underwear involved in this. You could borrow my copy of Sonic Forces for the Nintendo Switch. All you gotta do is email us at nintendocartridgesociety@gmail.com and give us a mailing address where I can send you my copy of Sonic Forces. You play it for as long as you want, or not. Right? Like, you can do whatever you want with it.
What you do with this copy of Sonic Forces...
That's between you and your God.
It's entirely up to you.
Yeah.
The important part is that it makes its way back to Patrick.
Yeah, that's it. So there may be a copy of Untitled Goose Game in my copy of Sonic Forces. You will have to either play that or not play that or do whatever you want with it for as long as you want before sending it back. I pay for postage both ways. It is the perfect borrowing program. Just got people walking by the studio here. So get on that list.
The other thing you could do is you could leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts.
Mm-hmm.
It helps people find the show. Patrick and I
like these people that just walked by.
That's right.
They heard a review and they just walked by.
They appreciate it, or we appreciate it so much. They appreciate it so much too. I feel
dude smiled at me. He smiled at me. He didn't wave necessarily, but there was like a gesture.
Well, that's because he knew that we were recording.
That's right.
And
that's right.
He didn't want to be too distracting. He was just loving the Nintendo Cartridge Society, like Unicorn Diamond Crystal. Thank you so much, Unicorn Diamond Crystal, for leaving us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. A reminder, if you leave us a review on the US Apple Podcast Store, we'll give you a shout out, just like we did Unicorn Diamond Crystal. If you leave us a review anywhere else, or you favorite us, or you share it, or you walk by our studio and give us a thumbs up.
Right. We may not notice, except for the walking by the studio
exactly.
and giving us a thumbs
so
up.
Yeah, feel free to send us an email, hit us up on Twitter. We would love to give you a shout out on the show.
All right, Mark, this is all good. I feel weird we don't have a like a thing that we're building towards, or like another ask of the audience. We're gonna have to come up with another one.
Yeah.
But not right now. Right now we're gonna get into what we've been playing this week. Mark, tell me about what it's like to be back in Animal Crossing. How's that going?
So it is going slowly.
Yeah.
Um,
As it was before.
yeah, definitely. I'm in there every couple of days for a little bit, trying to limit it to like an hour max. Um, but slowly making progress. Have like a legit museum now, so
Great.
not just blathers in a tent. I have a legit store. Timmy and Tommy have their store set up. I'm going for a totally kind of like different layout than I did previously. So my first island, there was no real thought into how I organized stuff, and so
yeah.
it didn't make my day like very efficient. When I needed to when I got into the game,
Yeah.
it was not like very efficient for me to do the like daily activities, to gather the stuff, to go to the fruit orchard and get the fruit,
Yeah.
visit the store, like all that kind of stuff, because it was all scattered around. So now I'm trying to be very deliberate
Sure.
in where I place things, to make it like very specific, where it's like, okay, this is going to be downtown. This is where all the commerce is going to happen. This is where the museum is, because I want to get all of that in like one location.
Right.
This is where all my people are going to be right now. This is where like all my flowers are going to be. This is where all my trees are going to be.
Yeah.
And so it's not very natural looking, but it is.
But that's okay. You're terraforming this island.
I'm trying to be very deliberate in my choices. I am enjoying it. I'm feeling this like tension where I just don't have the time to put into it like I did before, and so it is taking me a very long time to do things.
Yeah.
But I feel this like but also part of me is like, well, I'm playing this so I can get to the new stuff. In order to get to the new stuff, I have to go fast. And so the like little things, like just how long it takes to, like take an item out, or I have to put my shovel away before I walk into the house. Like that sort of stuff is like eating away at me. And I'm like, this is all the wrong way to be playing this game.
Yeah.
Is to feel that pressure. So even though I'm going slow, I'm actually like, it's not a leisurely pace. It's like I'm annoyed at the lack of progress I'm making. So I don't really know what to do at this point. Like I'm not having fun necessarily. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm trying to figure it all out.
Yeah. I continue to not play too much of it. But Sarah has gone like all the way down the rabbit hole, and has been playing a ton of Happy Home Paradise. And so I've been in the room for a lot of her designing stuff, for these other animals. And I gotta say, one of the things that's very like intriguing about, Happy Home Paradise is that it does give you like the opportunity to start a new thing in the game, right? And start like a new thing with like new animal villagers that like vacation on the archipelago, and like you sort of amass that like same, and it's not exactly the same because you don't have like the social relationships with them that you do in like vanilla Animal Crossing, but like in some ways you do get to just like start over and like build a new society,
Right.
And like the watching her as she's like gotten good, like really good with the design elements, it seems like it's super fun to like make these, and like start with the simplest prompts like we did on Thursday, and just like really building out these like either very cool, very fashionable, or just like straight up insane houses for people, is really like fun and neat. And I've been impressed with the way that it doles out new abilities, new items, and just like new tactics for decorating. Like it's a full-fledged like real deal thing, this Happy Home Paradise.
Yeah, I wish that there was a way to just like get to it now, because that sounds very like appealing to me. To be able to experience like this new part.
Yeah.
I mean,
what do you have to do to get to Happy? Oh, we were saying maybe even get 3 stars.
I think you have to get KK Slider on your island before this stuff opens up, but I haven't. Here's the thing.
Yeah.
I have not done any research to check. I could be totally wrong. Also, I think it probably wouldn't be too hard to get to 3 stars, right? Because I need 10. So I need to get 10 villagers. I need to get 3 stars. But you can get to 3 stars by just like throwing junk all over the place. Like it doesn't need to be like,
yeah, that's true,
real like decorated. But then I have like Junky Island, which I don't. So I don't know. I don't know what I'm gonna do. But I do wish that I could jump straight to the new stuff. Here's what I shouldn't have done.
Yeah, is nuked
Is
your
9
island
months
in the first
ago,
place.
I
Yeah.
shouldn't have nuked my island.
Unless you had a plan to start right then.
Which I did, but then I was like, oh, I just did this.
Right.
And so I didn't want to do it then either. I don't know. I don't know.
It certainly does seem like there should be a way to, just when you boot up the game, be like, it knows you have Happy Home Paradise and just be
Yeah.
like, do you just want to do this?
Yeah.
Because, like, it's not a different, like, a fundamentally different experience, but, like, I could see someone, like yourself, for example, not wanting to, like, mess with all the opening stuff again and just get right to the Happy Home designing.
Yeah. So I don't know. I do think I'll eventually get there because it's not like I'm like hating my time with it or anything. You know, it's
Yeah.
still Animal Crossing. It's still very cute. I am finding joy in new villagers that I didn't do before. Oh, I did my.
Do you know your villagers' names
No,
now?
I don't.
Okay,
I did
great.
my first Nook ticket.
Yeah.
And on the island was like this like black. I think it's Satan. It's like a black ram with red eyes. Who's wearing
Yes.
like Frollo's cloak from Disney's Hunchback of Notre Dame. Like I'm like it's satanic. Anyways, I invited him to my island.
Of
and
course.
So super chuffed that he's hanging around now. He's really nice, but I think he's the devil.
Let's see if we can figure out who he is. Looking at goats. Wait, oh, maybe he's a ram?
Oh, he might be a ram.
Okay, all right, hold on. Looking up rams, Animal Crossing. There we go. We're gonna figure out who this is. Some kind of evil ram. Sheep? There are sheeps.
I don't know.
Well,
I will learn names for next time. I promise. That is a promise. I'll learn names for next time.
Was that a promise last time too?
No,
or
I
did
don't
make
know.
that up?
I don't think I did.
think you refused.
I don't think I did.
I tried to
promise.
shame you into it, but it didn't work. All right. Well, Mark, would you like to talk about Kirby Superstar?
Yes. So I've also been playing Kirby's Superstar on the SNES, Nintendo Switch Online. I'm playing it in anticipation of going on a friend of the show, Connor McCabe's Call Me By Your Game podcast. We'll be recording that soon. And I am really enjoying revisiting Kirby Superstar. It is definitely like to my mind, it is definitely like the Kirby game.
Yeah.
And I think in general, it's kind of like the benchmark to which Kirby games are compared. I mean, it's the one Kirby game that they remade. It is that like beloved.
But I mean, is it in and of itself not a remake?
No, I don't think
also,
so.
this is one of the things about Kirby Superstar that I don't understand, because it's like a collection of games.
Yeah.
And like 2 of them are like real games, right?
I think there's like 4
Okay.
that are like real games, and then the other 4 are mini games.
Yeah. Okay. Which that like collection of mini games on top of it is such a like Kirby thing, like Kirby Superstar Star Allies, sorry, is has that sort of like mini game thing. So you're having a fun time.
Yeah,
with
I'm
it?
having a fun time.
Revisiting?
One thing that's interesting, like most of my experience with this game is playing it in co-op with my siblings, and this time I'm playing it solo, and so that is a different experience for sure, because you can still it's actually not unlike Star Allies. And here is where I am being forced to reevaluate my experience with Star Allies a little bit.
Yes.
Because when I played Star Allies, I was like, the allies are too overpowered. In Kirby Superstar, if you're playing with a computer ally, it's the same deal. The computer ally will like do all the work.
Yeah.
The second thing is that I like when I was playing Star Allies, I was like, Kirby's like it's kind of like slow moving. Like even like it's kind of deliberately paced and a little bit like too slow. And now I'm going back and playing like the campaign modes of Kirby Superstar, and I'm like, this is a lot like Star Allies.
Slow too.
Yeah, like I think I was looking at Kirby Superstar through rose-colored glasses and judged Kirby Star Ally too harshly, but not in a way where I'm like, I appreciate Star Allies more, but in a way where I'm like,
it just brings your estimation of everything down.
I think I like Kirby Superstar less than I remember. So it's been fun to revisit, but just like interesting in comparison to Star Allies, which really those were like when I was playing Star Allies, I was like, this is not like Kirby Superstar.
Yeah, but like it is so much like Kirby Superstar.
Exactly.
Is that a earthquake? No, it's just people rolling an appliance past our window. This the same fans who wanted to see us from before. Sorry, just the room started to vibrate here, and we had to assess what was happening. Um, we're fine though. Everyone's safe. Mark, I have been playing slash just messing around with a little bit the Legend of Zelda Game & Watch, which obviously we're coming on the heels of a Game & Watch month. I purchased the Super Mario Game & Watch when it came out last year, and this thing seems like a much more deliberate package than the Mario one does. We already knew it was going to have more games on it. It's got Zelda, Zelda 2, and Link's Awakening on it, the original Game Boy version, which again has not been re-released anywhere. But so it already has more, and it has a version of Vermin with Link as the playable character. And the thing that I really want to talk about is that it's got the packaging is so much more like intentional and useful than the Mario Game & Watch. They both have this really neat sort of aesthetic where it's in like a gold box with like a little clear plastic slip cover on it that like goes from revealing the like 8-bit games, or like shows the 8-bit game, you slide it away and you see the Game & Watch game under it, which is really kind of cool. And like, you know, it manages to look both like retro and new at the same time. But once you get inside, it comes with its own little like black display case with a Triforce on it. I'm holding it up right now so Mark can see. And when you turn the game on, there's a little Triforce in the back that lights up with like a cool green glowing glow. I don't know. It's just neat, and it's got the English and Japanese versions of all the games. There's also the French and German versions of Link's Awakening. But for the NES games, that means like different sound chips that the Famicom Disk System had access to. So like, I don't know. There's just more here than there is in the Super Mario Game & Watch.
Yeah, the way, I mean, just looking at it, it seems like a really cool package.
Yes.
And it seems very like thoughtfully put together. Like the fact that it has this cardboard slipcase inside that acts as like a stand for the Game & Watch. They have a way to display it. Like that's cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely agree. And, you know, just like the Mario Game & Watch, the thing itself is as cool as the box that the box that it came in is just as cool as the thing itself. Like they're both effective display pieces. So yeah, I'm really happy with this. I don't know how much of any of these Zelda games I'm going to play on this thing. Obviously, they're all three of them games that I love. So maybe I will. Maybe I'll like kind of hunker down and get into it. But it really makes me wonder. You know, if Nintendo wants $50 from me every year, they can do it by simply releasing another one of these for a different franchise. Mark, what Game & Watch would you like to see next?
Ooh.
And now, I know we were just talking about Kirby, but there is a new 3D Kirby game coming out next year. They could do a Kirby one of these.
That could be cool, especially because like there was Zelda Game & Watches, there were Mario Game & Watches.
Yes.
There were never Kirby Game & Watches. So that'd be fun to see them do something completely different like that.
Yeah. Also, neither of these modern Game & Watches have Mario or Zelda games on them, which I'm already mad because I want to play those games. But yeah, I think both of the existing ones are like sort of emulating the gold series. So it's like gold metal plating on the front and then just like a solid color like plastic around the outside. The Mario one was red. The Zelda one is green. The green's a little too bright for me. I kind of wish it was just like a touch duller to be like more in line with Zelda. Like this feels a little like slimy to me, like Nickelodeon slimy to me. But like if there was a Kirby one that was like pink, or like a Donkey Kong one that was brown, like I feel like there's so many like cool options that they have for this sort of thing.
Also, you know, you were saying that you don't know how much you're going to play it. It's almost a shame that they are so effective as like collectibles, because, you know, we talk about with our Switches, one thing that, you know, I really liked about the 3DS, or really any of Nintendo's handhelds before, is just how like they were built like tanks. I feel like I could just like throw it in a bag and go. Like that would be a perfect thing to bring on a plane. It's really small, it's really light.
Yes.
It has all of those like classic games on it. has a good screen, like a good bright screen.
Yeah.
But I know it is meant to be treated like that, but I don't think that I could. You know what
Right.
like
Right.
I think I would
I'm
want
a little
one as
too
a
precious
collectible
with
like
it.
this,
Yes.
and then
Yes.
one that I could just like do whatever.
Yeah. 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 That would be ideal. But it's weird to have a thing that's like so cool that like you don't want to use it. You know
Uh-huh.
what I mean? But it is very cool. I'm very happy that I have it, and I can't wait to see what they put out next. All right, Mark, those are the new release? No, that's what we've been playing. Let's get that's what we've been playing this week. Let's get into the new releases and what we might be playing next week.
I've got to tell you, Patrick, thinking that there's an earthquake happening
Yeah,
and then having to just be somebody like dragging an appliance
yeah.
across the floor.
It scattered
Unsettling.
me. It
It's still
scattered me a little
unsettling.
bit. I'm still thinking about it because it was going on for like a little bit too long and being like way louder than any earthquake I'd been through. So there was like a moment where I was like, "Are we on the
this the big
precipice of the
one?
big one?"
Yeah.
Right. Which would then be the next like 3 years of our life, probably.
Well, here's something to center us, Patrick. This Friday, November 19th, Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Pokemon Shining Pearl are released for the Nintendo Switch.
Pretty exciting, pretty big releases. Mark, you and I have been, we pick up a lot of the new Pokemon games when they come out, especially when they're like the mainline games. And like you picked up Let's Go. I picked up new Pokemon Snap. We both did Sword and Shield. Where are you now thinking about the re-release of Diamond and Pearl?
For whatever reason, I have no interest in picking it up. Like
Yeah.
I'm very comfortable just letting this one go past me. I think it's because it is they're such faithful recreations of Diamond and Pearl.
Games that you didn't play.
Games that I didn't play.
Yeah.
And so
And games that I didn't play. I'll throw myself out there too. But
yeah, so it
yeah.
just like I don't feel a desire to like discover it for the first time, and I have no nostalgia for it originally. So it's kind of like this one's not for me. I'm waiting for Pokemon Legends probably.
Yeah. I mean that's me too. I do, and this is gonna sound like overly dismissive, but I'm gonna say it anyway. I've played a Pokemon game before. Right? Like I know roughly what that experience is. And I'm never like so into any of the Pokemon games that I play that I'm going to be like scrutinizing the sort of like differences between them, you know?
I completely agree, and I think that's like it is for sure our Nintendo universe blind spot
Yes.
collectively,
Yeah. Mhm.
because I'm sure that Diamond and Pearl are very different experiences than Sun and Moon, or Sword and Shield or X and Y. But it's like me with wine. I don't have the palate, right? Like unless
Sure.
I'm tasting it back to back, I don't know that I could tell you the like subtle nuances. And that's where I'm at with Pokemon, where it's just kind of like, oh yeah, they are probably very different systems and like all that kind of stuff. But I experience them so casually that I think a lot of it would be lost on me.
Yeah. Yep. I agree with that.
The other thing on November 19th, Patrick, you have highlighted here Nerf Legends.
Yes, mostly out of curiosity because I was like, what? I've never seen a Nerf video game before.
Right.
And I was like, surely this must be a brilliant like crossover, sort of peripheral cash in, right? Like
Right.
a really smart
There's like a big like
synergy.
plastic blaster that
Yep.
you pop your Joy-Con into.
Yep, and then you fire like little suction cup darts at your TV, which would be rad, of course. But it seems like what the game is, it's like a little bit of a hero shooter sort of situation where all of the guns are, of course, Nerf guns, but you're like not firing Nerf things from them.
Oh, you're firing just like bullets and bombs?
I mean, I think they're just like green tubes or something.
Oh, God.
So like it's sort of splitting the difference between like something that's actually threatening and like I think it's turning them into like laser bolts or whatever.
Oh, sure.
Which I guess if a kid gets into Nerf Legends and then is like, oh, we can buy that gun and it shoots like a dart with like a
Right.
suction cup on the end, then I guess that's kind of cool. I don't know. I was trying to like wrap my head around like what the cultural weight of Nerf is now.
I know. I mean, I
We're
have
old
no
men.
idea.
Right.
Yeah, I have absolutely no idea.
Yeah.
Here's my pitch for what Nerf Legends should be.
Yeah.
Anthropomorphic Nerf guns going to school.
Whoa, going to school?
Yep.
Okay, so it's like
It's a
a
school simulator.
yeah. Okay, it's like a Persona.
You got to be in
kinda
class
game,
on time.
And then like by night, are you like going to the range? And
No.
there's nothing. There's no second
They're
part.
just anthropomorphic Nerf guns.
Did you have Nerf guns as a kid?
I had some Nerf guns.
Yeah.
So we were never like the household that had like the $100, like
Right.
Nerf Gatling gun type thing.
Right.
So we would have like the small handheld ones and
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. But generally not really.
This could be a 433 at some point, so maybe I won't burn through it. But just like Nerf guns, what are your experience with them? Or like squirt guns.
Oh,
Like
yeah,
a lot of toy guns in the world we grew up in.
Yeah.
All right, those are the new releases. Mark, let's close this segment out. Which brings us to a regular segment on our show. It is time for 433. In 1952, American composer John Cage wrote a piece called 433, wherein a performer or group of performers did not play their instruments for 4 minutes and 33 seconds. For the purposes of this show, our instruments are talking about Nintendo. So, for the duration of one performance, 433, Mark and I will talk about something not at all Nintendo related, thus fulfilling the contract of the piece. Mark, today we are discussing how early is too early to put up the Christmas decorations.
Growing up, Patrick, when would your family put up like holiday decorations?
Sunday after Thanksgiving.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, like clockwork.
Oh,
And it was, we would always do Thanksgiving at my aunt and uncle's house. And, then like Friday, Saturday would be just like sort of, whatever. And then it was just widely understood that Sunday was just going to be all about dragging boxes upon boxes of ornaments out to decorate the tree.
This year, sorry, for me,
Yes.
growing up, we put up the holiday decorations. I have an early December birthday.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it was a conscious choice from my parents to be like, we want to clearly delineate like your birthday and the holidays.
Yes.
Which I think was like a sweet gesture. And so growing up, it was always like after my birthday, Christmas decorations, like holiday decorations would start going up.
Yeah. But you like Christmas decorations.
Yeah, I do. In fact, this year, my husband and I, this is our first year like buying a tree or anything. And so we just went for it. It was the weekend after
Halloween.
Yeah.
We
We were at Lowe's. We were looking at grills. I was going to say Thanksgiving. I was like, nope, that's
we're
wrong,
not there
'cause
yet.
we're
Has
even
not
there
happened yet. Yeah.
Yeah, it was the weekend after Halloween. We were looking at grills. We were at Lowe's, and we were like, let's just go inside, look at the trees, see if there's one that like we got an artificial tree. See if there's one that we'll, want to get in the future. We found one, and we turned to each other and we were like, if we don't get this now, we will never come back here. Like, we're never getting this tree. Especially because as an adult, there's just not that much time between like between the end of, I keep wanting to say after Thanksgiving.
Yeah,
but that
it
is
has
not
not
true.
happened yet. Yes.
After the end of Halloween and the Christmas, there's just not a lot of time.
Well, and it takes so much like effort and time and money, honestly, to like actually decorate for Christmas.
Yeah.
In like an effective way that like, hey, you don't want to really waste it on the like 3 weeks between Thanksgiving and
exactly.
And
so
Christmas.
we're like, hey, and especially since it's our first year, kind of
Sure.
like going all out.
Yeah.
We just wanted to go for it, and so, how early is too early for Christmas? I'm gonna say before Halloween. That's where I come down on
Sure.
it now.
Before Halloween, like definitely too soon. I do feel like there's a real problem living in Los Angeles of the whatever cues you expect to get from the weather to like tell you what time of year it is, you got to throw them out the window.
Yeah.
Because like sometimes it gets a little bit cooler, sometimes it rains, frequently it does not.
We had like 3 days where it was below 70, and otherwise, like this past weekend, it was like 90 degrees.
Yeah, well, so
it's second summer.
Yeah, Sarah and I were like, oh yeah, we'll do. I was talking about your sort of early deployment of Christmas decorations, and she was like, that sounds fun, let's do it. And so we like this weekend we're like, yeah, we'll do it. And then it was 92 degrees on Sunday, and so all we did was get the little ceramic Christmas tree out from under the like sink storage storage here. So it's out, but nothing else has been done.
I have actually really enjoyed. I was not sure how I was going to feel about having the Christmas tree up so early. I've actually really been enjoying it.
Have you done the thing yet where you just like turn the lights on, just like sit there and look at it?
Yes. Okay. I would say we have.
Good.
Yes.
I felt like I was being vulnerable there for a second, where I was like, "Is this something everyone actually does?"
What if I was just like,
Patrick, what?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I think they're probably. I mean, Halloween before Halloween, anytime in October, definitely too early. I do think that like November 1st, 2nd, 3rd, that is too early, but like, I think it's okay. Do you know what I mean? Like, I am judging it, but I think it's fine.
Yeah. Well, thank you, I guess.
Look, these are extenuating circumstances. Will you do it next year? Will you put them up that early next year?
That's a great question. I can't promise anything.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe I will. Maybe I will start putting them up before Halloween. Maybe that's just who I am.
No, you can't, Mark. Come on. Could you do it where like you put up like Nightmare Before Christmas
it's
decorations?
like hybrid.
Yeah, and then like just slowly strip away skeletons and spider webs and stuff until it's just regular old Christmas.
Yeah. Oh, that's an interesting idea.
What you would want to do is like have some mechanism where you could just pull all the Halloween stuff down.
No, that's right. Like like when you're pulling a tablecloth out from under like a bunch of dishes,
a magic trick. That's right.
That's what I would want, but for my house.
All right, very good. We were accompanied today by. It's interesting for us to like run out of steam on one of these topics, but I feel like we did there. We didn't. We were done.
Well, we'll never know.
We'll never know. We were accompanied today by cellist Timotheus Petrin and pianist George Jianyu Fu. All right, Mark, let's get into the news.
Patrick.
Mark.
I am happy to report that the world seemingly has a bad case of Metroid Fever.
Oh, Metroid Game Watch. That's what we need.
In the US,
the
NPD Group reports that Metroid Dread had the highest launch month sales by revenue of any Metroid game ever.
That's pretty good. And is this the first Metroid game to sell at $60? No, probably Super Metroid sold for over $60, right?
Yeah, probably. I actually have no idea. But
yeah,
the game market would be so different
then.
Yeah,
great point.
That I guess like the closest comparison is to Metroid Prime, which was the previous record holder, which sold at $50.
Yeah,
right.
GameCube and then Wii were also $50.
And so dollar sales for Metroid Dread nearly doubled those of Metroid Prime. And then later, Nintendo actually came out and said how many copies were sold. Nintendo of America president Doug Bowser told The Verge in an interview that in the U.S., Metroid Dread sold 854,000 copies in October. That includes digital sales. That is a lot of Metroid Dread just in the U.S.
Yeah, and like it's important to have that like just in the U.S. Part of that in your mind, because like at first I'm like, not a million. We're not even getting to a million here. Kirby sells 1 million, but we're saying just the U.S.
Yep, that's right. So I mean that's great. I think in Japan it is close to being like the best selling Metroid game of all time.
Yeah.
Metroid is a very like interesting series in Nintendo's library because it has niche popularity.
Yes.
Right? Like the games have outside of like the original Metroid and maybe Super Metroid and the first Prime game have never really sold all that well.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's interesting to just like think about what they are, like the space that they occupy, because they're like in some ways a little bit too mature in tone for like the general Nintendo audience.
So un-Nintendo like.
But also like so still Nintendo-y for the like general video game audience. So like I don't know, it sits perfectly in my comfort zone, but I could see where that's not everyone's,
Yeah, so I'm very happy to see its success so far. It also makes me feel like Metroid Prime 4 is really primed to do even better.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it does seem like Prime has its own cultural cachet, right?
Right.
And Prime 4 has been like actively talked about for way longer. Like I know like Dread, we'd known about Dread for 17 years. But like that was a single flare that went up one time and we were like, what is that? I want to know more about it. And then it went away. And everyone presumed gone. But Metroid Prime 4 has been this sort of like constant churn of like, when is this coming? Here they're working on something. Oh, they scrapped it all so they could start again. And Retro's coming back to do it. Like there's the narrative there is so compelling, and like I don't know. I feel like the appetite is there for it. If it's good, I think it definitely has a chance to sell even better than
Yeah.
Dread.
Oh man, that is such a good point though. We've had two 2D Metroid games revealed and released
Yeah.
in the amount of time that we know about Metroid Dread Prime 4.
Yeah, wow, that's yeah. I mean, I do one thing I do worry about with the release of Dread or of Prime 4 is that sort of like scale and like that sort of narrowing that I was talking about is even more like accentuated with the Prime series, right? That
Because
like
it has like that first person adventure element.
yeah, so like I wonder if the audience for Metroid Prime is just on different hardware or like don't have the patience to play that kind of game on the Switch.
I don't think that's true, just because we've seen success of third parties
Yeah.
on Switch playing, with games like Bethesda, with their games like Doom and Doom Eternal and Wolfenstein, right? Like I think the audience is definitely there, and I think that Metroid um I also think that like right this sort of like first person adventure game, I think what I'm trying to say is our definition of like games has broadened so much in the 20 years since the original Metroid Prime. So dual analog shooters are no longer novel, right in the way that
or are no longer like strictly action-based shooters,
right, and not strictly like the domain of PlayStation or Xbox,
totally, or PC, which was the case for a long time.
And I think people are just more open to different types of like gaming experiences. I think we don't really have a good understanding of what we have no understanding of what Metroid Prime 4 is going to be.
Yeah.
Right? Is it going to be a dual analog shooter? We've never had one of those.
Right.
From a Metroid game before. And so why would they start now?
Yeah. But also, why wouldn't they adopt the sort of like modern nice? I mean, it's knowing that it's retro and not like another Nintendo studio makes me I don't know, yeah, like it just blows the whole thing wide open. Like it could be almost literally anything.
Yeah. But yes, super excited that Metroid Dread has seemingly found such success. I can't imagine that we won't get another 2D Metroid much sooner than like the 17 years we waited for Metroid Dread.
Yeah, I would hope so. What games would you want to see on that Metroid Game & Watch?
Ooh.
It's tough because so far they've just been NES and Game Boy games.
Yeah, but what I really want to see is Fusion and
Zero Mission.
Zero Mission.
But you would need the L and R buttons, and I feel like that kind of breaks the Game & Watch form factor.
Yeah, that's true.
And what would the Game & Watch game be that suddenly has Samus in it?
Probably Donkey Kong 3.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, that's great. Yeah, Samus is on one side, Mother Brain is on the other, and you're shooting little Metroids back to each other. Yeah,
yep.
Mark, you nailed it.
I am, however, sad to report it is time once again for us to discuss Joy-Con drift.
Let's do it.
Joy-Con drift, of course, is where the analog sticks on a Joy-Con controller register input even when you aren't doing anything. I've had a pair of Joy-Con succumb to Joy-Con drift when I was playing Super Mario Sunshine. Mario would do a little scoot without me doing anything.
Yep, I also have a pair of Joy-Con that succumbed to Joy-Con drift. And I put them away for a very long time because I was like, I got new ones. It was like, these are broken, even though it was just the one that was drifting.
Same.
And not like all the time drifting, but like every now and then after I moved, it wouldn't like kind of snap back to center. And I pulled them back out when we were playing Super Mario Party not that long ago, and like didn't notice a problem with them.
Oh, nice.
So I don't know.
In the same interview where we got the Metroid Dread sales, Doug Bowser was asked about Joy-Con drift, and Bowser said, quote, "As we've gone through the first 5.5 years of the Nintendo Switch, sidebar, oh my gosh,
oh my god,
we've observed gameplay, we've observed as people have returned units, how they've worn, and we've been making continuous improvements overall to the Joy-Con, including the analog stick. This latest version, Nintendo Switch OLED, has the same updated analog stick that's now available in the original Nintendo Switch and the Nintendo Switch Lite," end quote.
So is this the like little piece of whatever that we talked about months ago, or like what exactly?
I don't think, or at
Because
least
people
I
are
don't
opening
know.
these things up and like
Right.
seeing them, and like it's obviously still a problem in some respects. We
Uh-huh.
don't hear about it as much, but like yeah, they've never like come out and said like whatever issue there was doesn't exist anymore. And I understand that's like a liability thing, but
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like it stinks that it happens. I mean, we had a listener recently, right?
Yeah.
Send hers in
yes,
to get repaired, and she had an overall positive experience. Like, it didn't take that long or anything.
yeah,
Probably saved a ton of money over buying new ones. I am always shocked at how expensive
$80.
Joy-Con are.
Yeah,
So yeah, but it feels like this is basically the final word. Like, Nintendo has said this in one form or another. I think in interviews around the launch of the Switch OLED, some of the hardware engineers from Japan said something very similarly, that they are always, like they've been continually tinkering with it. So it feels like this is, like the final word, where Nintendo will repair yours, and at this point, all the new ones are, as good as they're going to get.
well, or that they will continue to.
Oh, sure, yeah,
Right,
continue to
right.
tinker.
Right, and especially like as they launch like new versions of I have to imagine the next Switch will have a new generation of Joy-Con as well. I mean, we're not quite there yet, right? 5.5 years is deep into a Nintendo life cycle, and for a lot of Nintendo hardware, kind of the end of it. Like the Super Nintendo is like a 5-year lifespan. The Wii U obviously was way shorter than that. But even the Wii at its like sort of longest is like 7 years plus, or like just about 7 years. So like we're coming up.
Well, it's funny you say that.
Thank you.
Because so last week we talked about Nintendo's latest financial results, and then we kind of talked about the stuff that was in the main presentation. Following the main presentation, there was also a Q&A session with investors and Nintendo leadership. So there are some tidbits that, when the English translation of that was released, came out of that. In one of them, the company was asked about the next generation of hardware, and Nintendo President Shigeru Furukawa reiterated that they don't have anything to announce right now, so not
Right.
surprising, but that they consider the Switch to be at the midpoint of its life cycle. And this is something that Nintendo has been saying even when the Switch was very new,
Yeah.
that they intended for this to be like an extended life cycle. Much longer than, you're right, like most other Nintendo like home consoles have had that like 5.5 year life cycle. The Switch is in such a crazy place because the momentum is not stopped.
Right.
They
right.
continue to, and like they cannot meet demand.
Right.
They're having trouble again this year. Like, if you see a Nintendo Switch and you are in the market for one, buy the Nintendo Switch that you see,
Right.
because they're not
'Cause-
able to
right.
manufacture enough to meet demand. It's just crazy. It's so weird. But
Yeah.
also, how could it doesn't feel like technologically the Switch can hold out for another 5.5 years, an 11-year
right.
console cycle.
Right. I mean, that seems outrageous. But I mean, by then we'll be. Well, let's see. So another 5.5 years. That could be time for a refresh on the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X, right? Like that will be time for a PlayStation 6. But I mean, I think all of the like console generation, like moving to the next one, will be affected by where we are now with chip shortages and just hardware shortages. Yeah, the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X are like super powerful and make the Switch feel kind of dull by comparison, just in terms of like physically what it can do. But there just aren't that many of them out there, like just because they can't make them.
I know.
So like And even we are over a year into PlayStation 5 and Series X, and like they're harder to get even than the Switch is. And there's no sign that that's going to let up anytime soon. We've seen delays for both the Playdate, that like handheld with the crank, and the analog pocket. We've talked about
And
this,
the Steam Deck.
and the
Steam
Steam
just got
Deck,
delayed.
yeah, all of that stuff. And it all goes back to the same thing, that like there is a problem getting the chips to actually make these things work, and like all the supply chain constraints converge on all the products we want the most, and like keep making.
Yeah.
I just don't know when that's ever going to change.
No. The Playdate one was so crazy because in the blog post explaining it, they were talking about how like, they put in an order for the chips that they intended to use.
Yeah.
And the people were like, great, we can get that to you in 2024.
Right.
And so they had to rewrite, like their software to work on other chips that were available.
Yeah.
Like, and that's what Tesla's been doing just on the fly, is writing, like rewriting their software so that way they can get chips that are available. I don't know enough about it. Is the answer like, oh, when in the next generation they're moving to like a different wafer size or something, and so that
Right, yeah.
has like the inventory? Like, I don't have any idea. But if you are Nintendo or Microsoft or Sony, and you're thinking about what comes next, like, it seems very difficult to plan for.
Yeah, I mean, and this may be actually a place where Nintendo thrives, because like if anyone has demonstrated their ability to like put out high quality, really good looking experiences on inferior hardware, just from I love my Switch. I don't mean to call it inferior hardware, but like it's just less powerful
Yeah.
Than its competition, even from the last generation. It's Nintendo, right? Like they can continue to put out great games on hardware that just gets older and creakier, and not really show that creakiness.
Also, it does make me wonder, Nintendo keeps saying the Switch is at the middle of its life cycle, which to me seems insane, but
Middle, I think, just means not the end.
the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Probably not another 5.5 years, but also like maybe they do intend to like change the trajectory. Like, what am I trying to say? Introduce a new like Switch.
Yeah.
I hate to talk about it. But a new, like, more powerful Switch, keep the old one around, and just kind of, continue to diversify the Switch lineup without necessarily like doing a hard reset.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, I think there are a number of different ways that they can like explore and exploit their back catalog, and just like their nostalgia on top of like making new games for the Switch, and on top of the other like entertainment things that we've talked about. I think the Game & Watch is a great example of that. These things don't can't really do numbers for them, I'm sure, but it's a neat thing that they are making, right? Like,
Yeah.
so I don't know. I feel like predicting Nintendo has always been a fool's errand. We try to do it maybe like 3 or 4 times a year. We're always right. But that's it's a great big who knows, and that's one of the things that I like about this company.
Totally. Some other tidbits from that financial Q&A. Miyamoto was asked, be forewarned, a lot of this is classic not news.
Not news.
Like, I think rarely at these investor things is news ever really broken.
No, they're too well trained.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all kind of fancy corporate talk to say nothing. But that's not going to stop me from talking about it right now.
That fancy corporate talk.
Miyamoto was asked about visual content based on Nintendo properties other than Mario, to which
is there a translation issue here? Because we've encountered visual content in these things before.
I think that this is another like corporate speak, because they don't want to brand it like movies and TV.
Right, okay.
It's visual content.
Okay.
To keep their bases wide open. That's my guess. Quote, I have great expectations for the Super Mario CG animated film. For decades, our approach has been to bring smiles to consumers by creating each product with great care. With visual content as well, we want to continue to create content that brings smiles to generations of consumers around the world. We recently announced the film release date. He's talking about the Super Mario movie because production is getting closer to completion. Going forward, we want to actively utilize other IP as well. With visual content, people can experience Nintendo IP in a variety of places, so I think it's good to have a lot of content that is accessible for people who do not have a dedicated game device. However, we want to continue to make each title with care, so I cannot talk about a specific number. We want to work diligently to build up a strong offering.
Strong offering. It sounds like he's talking about strong in terms of numbers. I guess also quality, but like, and that I guess that's why he's saying he can't put a pin on any kind of like
Right, we're
numbers.
not trying to make 10 movies, or we're not trying to like
right. They're not trying to launch a like Nintendo Cinematic Universe.
Mhm.
Which please don't do that, please, please. I don't want to go to these movies, but we'll have to. We'll have to talk about them on the show,
Yep.
Mark. Yeah. I mean, what is your takeaway from this?
Um,
Other than he's not really saying anything.
I feel like my takeaway is that it is a couple of weeks ago there was a rumor or leak or whatever you want to call it that Seth Rogen's Donkey Kong would be spun off from the Mario movie into his own film or TV series or something. And that made sense to me. Miyamoto's obviously not like confirming that or speaking directly to that rumor, but I do think it makes sense when he's saying like, hey, we want to actively utilize other IP as well, that those sorts of things would spin out of each other.
Yeah, it's so weird because like there was a Donkey Kong Country TV series. There was a Super Mario Brothers movie and a Super Mario Brothers TV show. And like this feels different, right? Like the like main front-facing Nintendo is more involved in like, showing it off at their presentations and stuff like that. But like I don't know if that makes me feel any better about it or worse or the same.
Yeah. I really feel like with the Mario movie, I do think that there's a lot. Actually, I take that back. I was going to say I feel like there's a lot riding on it, but I don't.
Probably not.
But I don't know that that's true. I think it could be bad and something in the future could be good. Like I don't think
I agree.
that however the Mario movie turns out is necessarily like an indicator of what Nintendo what like the quality would be going forward. But I continue to dread the release of that.
Yeah,
like
me too.
I'm not
Me too.
looking forward to it.
Yep.
Miyamoto was also asked about the differences between 3D and 2D Mario. And he said this, quote, "As for the difference between 2D and 3D Mario, let me explain by describing the background for the development of the Wii game New Super Mario Bros. Wii, which was released in 2009. At the time, it felt like each time we created a new installment in the Super Mario series, which by then had expanded into 3D, it became more complicated. After the release of Super Mario Galaxy in 2007, the goal was to develop a more accessible 3D Super Mario game, and the result was New Super Mario Bros. Wii, a basic side-scrolling Super Mario game that even new players could play easily. That later led to the release of the even simpler Super Mario Run game, a mobile application released in 2016. When we develop software, we strive to incorporate new elements, but at the same time, we want to make it easy for even first-time players to have fun. Recently, people of all generations have been enjoying the 3D Mario game Super Mario Odyssey, released in 2017. So for 3D Mario going forward, we want to try to expand further in new ways."
This is Super Mario 3D World Erasure, but fine.
That game sold the new Super Mario Brother, not new Super Mario Brothers. What am I trying to say?
Super Mario 3D World.
Yes, has sold really well on Switch.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's another one where it's like, that's a lot of words.
We try to do new things, but we don't want to make anything that's too new and scary. And the difference between developing the new ones in 3D and the new ones in 2D is that we started work on one in 3D and it ended up in 2D. It's very muddled. And yeah, I mean, I think why would someone ask him what's the difference between 3D and 2D, or like
if it's anything,
what
like,
are their expectations?
If it's anything like investor meetings in the US, like anybody can ask anything, and they are sometimes a real mess.
Sure.
So,
I've been to Comic-Con. I get it.
In an interview with Axios, the Pokemon Company Director of Consumer Marketing, J.C. Smith, commented on the, shall we say, angry feedback the developers of the Pokemon games sometimes get, saying, quote, "We have a group of creators and professionals working at the Pokemon Company that have been through a lot, seen, heard a lot. They have thicker skin than many people do because they've heard it."
That's sad.
It is sad. He mentions that the developers have a vision for their games and, quote, "It's a matter of finding that delicate balance," meaning between, like their vision for the game and the fan feedback. Um, Quote, "But we try to focus on making the core accessible to everyone."
Yeah. I mean, and I think that's really it's kind of like the Miyamoto's quote about Mario, right? That like obviously they're trying to do new stuff in every Pokemon game, but not betray what like the Pokemon faithful want, but also not alienate new people who could get. Pokemon is such a series out of time, like even when it came around, it was antiquated and then like stayed on handheld hardware for so long and was just like repeating the same like Dragon Quest 1 style gameplay, but with like characters that you swap out, that like I don't know, it feels out of time, and I know that there is a vocal contingent of fans that want it to be a game of the future, and like it's just never going to be that.
Yeah, it just, I am very sympathetic to the developers of Pokemon because it
Same.
feels like a very no-win scenario.
But everyone's going to love this Legends Arceus, right?
I doubt that it will be true. There's an official Twitch app on the Switch now. It dropped last week and joins Hulu, YouTube, and Funimation in the US as streaming apps on Switch.
Well, I mean, I guess better late than never. It's a little strange that the other just like main streamers aren't on there. But I guess I get it. Like, if you're gonna watch something in handheld mode, why don't you just watch it on your phone? And if you're gonna watch something on the TV, why not watch it on any of the other things that are hooked up to your TV?
I also don't have any idea what like the certification process is.
Sure.
Like, years ago at this point, way before the Switch was revealed, when Nintendo was first talking about, like their goals in unifying development between handhelds and home consoles, there were talks, rumors, something that like Android was the base for Switch.
That's right.
I don't think that turned out to be the case, but I have no idea what like developing an app for Switch is like. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. Well, and I guess like as there's for a lot of those apps, there's like a way to like monetize within the app itself, like like Amazon Prime, for example, or Prime Video. And so I wonder if like Nintendo just doesn't want that to be part of their like a storefront that they don't control. Although I guess there's DLC in like every game,
right? And like I mean, Hulu and Funimation are on here, and you have to have a subscription. For
that's a good point.
But which you must have to purchase outside of. So yeah, I don't know. It is interesting that like Netflix never made the jump or anything like that.
Yeah.
According to app tracking firm Sensor Tower, Pikmin Bloom has been downloaded over 2 million times since launch. Almost 900,000 of those downloads are from Japan, followed by the US and the UK in third.
900,000 people in Japan downloaded. That's more than copies of Metroid Dread were sold in the United States.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
I think the Pikmin 3 Deluxe is like now the best-selling Pikmin game. I think that there is, just like with Metroid Dread, Prime in the pump for Metroid Prime 4, I think that whatever happens next with Pikmin, I think it's going to be big.
Yeah, that's I feel like Pikmin is still one of those that hasn't totally punched through over here, and maybe it does take like the next good big game.
And I guess I should say big as in like how a lot of games have been getting the Switch bump.
Yeah,
I think Pikmin is in line for the Switch bump if we do get a new Pikmin game there. And finally, new in-game events in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate are coming to an end starting November 19th. Prior activities will start being recycled on the Spirit board and other places.
So those are like the tournaments and also the things that are like, this is everyone who wears glasses.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I guess that's probably fine, right? Because they did so many of them. There was like a new one almost every month, right?
Yeah, we got and for a lot of years too.
Yeah. And it's just like I don't know. It's a little bit sad to see like the development cycle for Super Smash Brothers Ultimate come to an end, because it has been such a like live game, right? With like new characters always to look forward to, and then just this sort of like ongoing churn of Spirit Board events. But like it had to end sometime.
Yeah, but one of the rare instances of like a Nintendo game feeling like one of those games as a service,
Yeah,
like more like a Fortnite or another one of those, and a third example. But you know what I
right.
mean? Like that you do. I agree with you that like Smash felt so alive in a way that Nintendo generally like doesn't treat their franchises that way or their games that way. We don't have you have new cups in or new tours in like Mario Kart Tour all the time because that's like
Yeah,
a mobile
yeah.
service game. But like Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, not they have chosen to not treat it that way.
Yeah, but I mean, we do see a little bit of that in Mario Tennis Aces and in Mario Golf, the name of which I can't remember.
But even that feels different where it's like you get like 1 year
Yeah,
of updates,
Yeah.
every once in a while. And then they set it aside and they're like, okay, we're done, which is fine. It's, like I don't expect them to keep Mario Tennis Aces, like putting in new players, all the new characters all the time.
Right.
But Smash just felt very different. And
Yeah.
so I agree with you that it does feel weird kind of to have it go into a little like hibernation.
Yeah. Well, Smash also seemed complete when it was originally launched, right?
Mhm.
Like it was all of the Smash that you ever needed. And then they kept giving you stuff. Whereas like tennis and golf were both games that like didn't have a ton of like options or characters or courses, and all of that filled out slash for golf is still filling out
Yeah.
over time. So like it's interesting. Like I didn't pick up Mario Golf when it came out, sort of just because like I wasn't like in the mood for that. But if I pick it up a couple months from now, perhaps when it's on sale or something, I will be getting a fuller, more complete game, and not as something that they're trying to sell DLC. It just has more stuff in it.
Yeah, it's just such a interesting reminder of how differently Nintendo structures
So
their
weird.
development teams versus like other companies. Because I could see Smash just going on forever, right? Like you would just have a team dedicated to creating spirit boards and like all
Right.
that kind of stuff.
Right.
But they choose not to. They're very like it's very discreet where it's like, and now we are finished development on that because that team is going to
Do
focus
something
on
else.
do something else.
Well, and that is how we get like weird Nintendo stuff and like the next, I when we were doing our Happy Home Paradise last week, I brought up a Kid Icarus Uprising character, and like that's just a reminder, like you can take a break from Smash to do something like totally outrageous and out there, like reviving a 20-year-old franchise and turning it into like a self-aware flying shooter action comedy game. Like I don't even know. It's one of the things that I will always value about Nintendo. All right, Mark, let's get out of the news. That's going to do it for this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society. Man, Mark, I'm so glad that wasn't an earthquake. Aren't you?
Yeah. But at least I would have died doing what I love.
What, scrambling to get out the window of our
That's
studio?
right.
Remember, please rate, review, and follow us on Apple Podcasts. If you like the episode, you can share it on Facebook or Twitter. We appreciate it when you share us wherever you share us. You can follow us on Twitter. I'm at Patrick_Ellers. Mark is at MKE Mitchell, and the show is at Nin Cart Society. There's also a Facebook page, which is just Nintendo Cartridge Society. Olivia Duncan Mayer logo. Our theme music is provided by 8-Bit Betty. You can get more of his music by going to 8bitbetty.com or by listening right now. For my co-host, Mark Mitchell, this is Patrick Eller saying thank you for listening.
I'm Brian Husky. I'm bald.
And I'm Charlie Sanders, and I'm also bald, and we host Bald Talk on the Campfire Media Network.
Bald Talk is the podcast where two bald comedians talk to anyone bald about being bald.
But this show isn't just for baldies, Brian. Harrows will love it too.
Bald Talk gets into vulnerability, vanity, insecurity, and self-acceptance, reminding us that we all have our respective bald spots. Not that bald spots are a bad thing.
No way. I mean, my entire head is one big bald spot.
It is one huge, beautiful bald spot, Charlie.
Get Bald Talk on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts.
I mean, I have like a little bit of hair, but not like you. Like, you're really bald.
I'm truly bald.
Great. I mean, it's
I'm
great.
balder than you.
You are balder than me.
Only on Bald Talk. Campfire.